Um, all right, and now we have a member, so I'm pleased to introduce Emily Wu Trong, who is an award-winning motivational speaker based in the San Gabriel Valley of Los Angeles County. She works tirelessly to advocate and address the misconceptions of individuals who struggle with mental illness. As a suicide attempt survivor diagnosed with depression and anxiety, she transformed her adversities into wisdom, inspiring others to face their fears and find value in their own life struggles. Emily Wu Trong.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Life is not always easy. It's hard. It's a roller coaster of ups and downs and all around. But we survive and we thrive. We learn from history, from all the different movements, civil rights, LGBTQ movement, that even though sometimes the struggles feel so difficult, if we continue to push and change, move and shake, we can make a difference. I'm a board member for NAMI San Gabriel Valley, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And our board at the time didn't have enough Asians to represent our Asian communities. And so I knew I needed to step up. And even finding any place where they would talk about Asian American mental health was so slim. Felt like no one was talking about it. And so back in July 2013, I found an Asian American mental health legislative briefing. And I was there in amazement. Wow. And so at the end of the program, they asked if anyone would like to come up to the stage and say a few words on what you liked about this program. And I went up and I said, I will not end my life because I have a story to share. The more we talk about mental health, the more we will alleviate the stigma. There is no shame. There is no shame. And ever since then, I have been on a grassroots mission to alleviate the stigma in my own community. Because I, as an advocate, I'm speaking out for the child inside me that did not get the needs that I needed, the love, when I was much younger. But now the older Emily says to younger Emily, I'm here speaking for you now. You may not always felt like your voice mattered, that anyone was listening to you, but I am here with you now. And I am here with you all the way. So a little bit about my background is that I was born in El Dorado, Arkansas. We were one of 3 Asians in our town. And I was so happy there because, I didn't experience any racism. All the other black and white kids treated me as an equal. And then, after first grade, our parents said, we're moving to California. And my mom said, well, don't tell anyone that we're leaving, though. But what about my friends here? And so after moving to California, it was really hard to adjust. Who's watched the movie Disney's Inside Out? Many of you. And so that little girl was me. I had such a hard time adjusting to the life of Los Angeles. It didn't really help that we lived in a more affluent neighborhood because, we were judged by where we lived. And, oh, you're considered a spoiled rich brat. I'm like, no, but I know that money doesn't buy happiness. And so it was hard to be categorized and stereotyped in that group. Because living in Los Angeles can make someone more materialistic. You know, if you were to take away all these different things in your life, your salary, your job title, your looks, who is your family, who are your friends? You know, how big is your house, what car do you drive? If you took all those things away, what are you left with? How are you going to define yourself? Do you love yourself? Are you proud of you? One NAMI California conference that I attended, there was a guest speaker who shared, she took out a dollar bill, a $20 bill, and she's like, who wants this $20 bill? So many people rose their hands. And then she dropped it, and she crumpled it up and stomped on it. She picked it back up. Now who wants it now? Everyone still rose up their hands. And that's where I realized, you know what? Each of us is like that $20 bill. Each of us, whenever we get stomped on, crumpled up, and we feel like we're maybe even messed up, but who would want us? Who would want us? We're not damaged. We're still precious. We still have had the same value ever since we were born. And that was a journey for me to learn as my sister had a baby. And I saw Shane grow up day by day. And me being the youngest of three from a Taiwanese immigrant family, and an Asian family, and we feel like being the youngest, I didn't feel like I had a voice. And I had no younger siblings to see grow up. And so when I saw my sister's baby growing up day by day, from my sister's womb to being a newborn, to learning how to walk, to crawl, wow. I never treasured myself as I saw this baby grow up day by day. And I would be in amazement of this little boy. Wow, I'm so proud of you. And I realized that I needed to treasure myself like this miraculous little miracle. And so oftentimes people think that mental health is about what's wrong with you, but no, it's also about what's right with you too. Growing up in a perfectionistic family, you know, where straight A's were a requirement, but I always fell short. The model minority myth never helped, because we don't always have it all together. And so that's where I learned that I needed to be, it took so long, but to be nice to myself. I was so good at encouraging other people when I was growing up, but I was such a failure at encouraging myself. And so throughout my life, you know, when I went through junior high, you know, I had a friend who also felt suicidal, and she would confide in me. And that felt good. For someone to listen, for someone to confide in me and lean on my shoulder. And then when I got to high school, you know, there was a lot of bullying. You know, I didn't know who are my true friends. But oftentimes, later when I found out, there was this quote that says, before you diagnose yourself with depression, make sure you're not surrounded by assholes. And so that's where, like, we have to find the people who have similar values as us, right? So maybe I was just in a society, community where they just didn't think about the meaning of life, right? I wanted to talk about that stuff when I was younger, and like they're like, I don't know how to have this conversation with you. Or like they would just talk about celebrities and gossip. I'm like, I can't relate with this. Let's talk, you know? And it was even hard to have these conversations with my parents as well. But probably because they also didn't know how to engage in those conversations as well, right? And so in life, we go through all these, we're being programmed. And everyone's telling you, this is important, and everyone's trying to grab your hand, this is important, this is important. But no one tells you, no, this is important. You learning how to define who you are and be who you want to be. Because everyone has their own definitions of success based on their own value system. After college, my mom was like, every day she would say, what are you doing with your life? When are you going to get your master's? When are you going to get your full-time job? And then I would internalize that and think that success was only that. I am only a somebody if I have a full-time job or a master's. It didn't help that my mom would say, hey, look at your cousin. She's going to UPenn. She's getting her MBA. Oh, look, she's working for Google. Would you rather her be your daughter instead? And so I think what's so important is that each person has to learn how to appreciate their own journey based on their own success. We are not copycats. We are to define how our own journey is going to be. It's been very difficult in my journey as a mental health advocate, because I know that we need to create these spaces to talk about mental health. And so in these last few years, I've been speaking out publicly, and sometimes I got setbacks. The World Journal Chinese Daily News interviewed me, and I was honored, but the next day, if you translate the article to English, it was called Victim of Perfectionist Parents Speaks Out. I can smile about it now, but I was in tears back then. It happened right before Thanksgiving. And thank goodness, it turned out well in our conversation because, initially my mom's reaction was, how could you do this to me? Are you really my daughter? Do I have to disown you? But then when we had a belated Thanksgiving meal, my husband was there to support me, and he said to my parents, your daughter's not trying to publicly blame you. She's trying to say that she is one of many who have fallen through the cracks and have not gotten the support that she needed to help her thrive. Back then, bullying was not always talked about, but now it finally is. No one engaged us in those conversations. And so in that meal with my parents for the first time, I heard my mom say, sorry, we're not perfect parents. And I needed to hear that. So needed to hear that humility. Because my parents were the type of people who were like, we went to the Harvard of Taiwan. We were the top of our class. It's like, how can I even beat that? Right? And so through this journey, there has been a lot of pain, but there has also been a lot of hope and healing. In another speaking engagement I had before, I said that sometimes when things are provoking you, it may be a struggle to get through it, but it's also trying to heal you. As my bio said, that there is value in struggle. Without having gone through depression and anxiety, I would not be the motivational speaker that I am today. I've been speaking for about 4 years now, and I've been recognized from public officials like Senator Ed Hernandez, Congresswoman Grace Napolitano, Congresswoman Judy Chu, and this past May 10 was publicly established by the LA County Board of Supervisors as Asian Pacific American Mental Health Day because of my contacting the Board of Supervisors staff and asking them, would you please do this for the underserved communities of people of color, the Asian communities, to recognize the traumas that they face, but also the resilience. And so on that day, May 9th, this past month, they honored me and the Asian Coalition, my works to raise awareness on Asian American mental health, doing conferences, monthly support groups, highlighting individuals who have also gone through their own struggles but have learned to overcome them through resources, coping skills, support groups in the community to help them help themselves. Because even though we may be labeled with a diagnosis, we do have abilities. Part of my struggle was that in the mental health system, when I was initially trying to get help, I made over 60 phone calls to help myself in a 3-day span. And every phone call felt like they said, sorry, we can't help you. Here's another number, here's another number, here's another number. I'm like, how am I supposed to get the help that I need? You know, and so, but I trained myself to think about, well, what can I do? Let's think outside the box. Let's go to the library. Let's check out self-help books. And then I would just start thinking about my abilities versus my disabilities. And I started to think about myself like, okay, I am strength and weakness, just as everyone else is too. And so the last thing I want to share with you is my spoken word. And it is called, We Are Works, All Works in Progress. Know how to help yourself before you can truly help anyone else. Set an example for others if you know how. However, I know that this is a lifelong learning process, so you don't have to be perfect because we are all works in progress. There are lessons to be learned in everything that we face from day to day. Without these lessons, we don't challenge ourselves to be better than who we already are. So work on being the best person you can be. See your true potential in life. Know that you don't have to have all the answers right now. It takes time to find the answers to life. So just chill and relax from time to time. Take a moment to breathe and just be with yourself. Know that you are made for success in this life. You can reach your highest potential if you just believe in it. Have confidence in yourself. I have confidence And, you know. So that was my spoken word. And I have to say it to myself all the time because I can sometimes forget. I've only been out of the closet, you know, like for 4 years. I still have to reprogram my mind, or else I'll have my setbacks. I have to remember my coping skills. And that's almost like, that's called self-help cognitive behavioral training. And so Recovery International also is a support group that I've been going to. And they tell you things like, nervous symptoms are distressing, but are not dangerous. Not dangerous. And then they also share with you, feelings are not facts. And helplessness is not hopelessness. Thank you.